Barack Obama set to address the nation, and part of that proposal will be a plan to pitch tax increases on the wealthiest Americans. So the president likely facing challenges, though. Republicans now controlling both houses of Congress, and tonight getting a reaction from one of our local congressmen, Tom McClintock. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
How do you think things are going to change, first of all, with Republicans, the GOP, controlling both sides?
Well, we now have the largest Republican majorities in either house since 1928, so the American people have spoken loudly and clearly that they've gone about as far down this road of debt and doubt and despair as they intend to go. They want their Constitution back. They want their economy back. And I think that that's the opportunity that the president has. You remember 1994, Bill Clinton got his head handed to him in an election, first Republican majorities in the Congress in decades. He recognized his policies weren't working. He reached across the aisle. He worked with the Republican Congress, and together they did some absolutely miraculous things. They cut spending by 4% of GDP. They enacted what amounted to the biggest capital gains tax cut in American history. They went after entitlement spending, abolished the entire open-ended welfare system we had at the time, cut the welfare rolls by 50%. Turned in the only 4 budget surpluses in the last half century.
Well, let me ask you this.
And the result was a period of profound economic growth. That's the model that Barack Obama needs to follow if he wants to salvage what remains of his presidency.
So I'm sure Democrats would have a different answer to this. Do you think there is a will to work with both parties and get something done?
Well, there has to be, because without compromise, nothing gets done in Washington.
Well, that's usually the case sometimes, though.
But compromise is a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. That compromise has to result in policies in concert with what the American people have just very, very clearly spoken for in the November election.
So he has unveiled what we're kind of calling the middle class plan, what he's going to be discussing in his State of the Union address. The first and foremost, large tax increases to the wealthiest, couples making more than $500,000 per year. Your thoughts on his proposal?
Well, he wants to substantially increase taxes on investments. Well, remember, when you tax something, you get less of it. You tax investments, you get less investments at a time when the economy is continuing to drag, at a time when, if his proposed capital gains tax cuts go into effect, means that the capital gains rate will have doubled under his administration. I mean, that's why we are seeing such a stagnant, sluggish economy. The best thing we can do, not just for the middle class, but for all Americans, is to enact those policies that produce solid economic growth. We got that under Ronald Reagan. We got that under Bill Clinton, but Clinton and Reagan were following policies very different from this administration. They were cutting taxes, they were cutting spending, they were reducing the regulatory burdens on Americans, and both times the economy exploded in prosperity. This administration is following exactly the opposite policies. It shouldn't surprise us. It's getting the exact opposite results.
You will have pushback, though, saying that we are still protecting or helping the 1%, so to speak, and not helping the middle class in any way, shape, or form. So is there something that you or other Republicans or even Democrats can do right now, an actual proposal, an actual thought that can help them out?
Don't forget, it was Democrat John F. Kennedy who cut taxes dramatically in his administration, who explained that a rising tide lifts all boats. Half of the American people have not seen any increase in their economic circumstances during this administration. They've been completely left behind. If high taxes, burdensome regulations, massive spending and deficits were the path to prosperity, we should be enjoying an economic golden age. We're not, because the president's policies do not work. As I said, you tax something, you get less of it. You tax investments, you get less investment at precisely the time when we need more investment to begin growing the economy again.
So if his proposal will not work or will not pass even, what will?
Well, I think there are elements of it that Republicans can embrace. Increasing the child care tax credit, of increasing the child deduction. These are things that I think would be very helpful across the board.
Sure.
But I don't see them being financed by massive taxes on investment and economic growth. What we need to do is cut spending. Don't forget, we're not suffering a lack of tax revenues. We're collecting more taxes than this nation has ever collected in its entire history. We are well above the 40-year average in the percentage of GDP that's now being consumed by taxes. Our problems are not that our taxes aren't high enough.
Well, it sounds like you like part of the plan and don't like part of the plan. That's compromise, right? All right. Tom McClintock, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your